Welcome to Book Banter with me, your host, Dianne Burkhart. I hope you will join me every Wednesday as we explore all things to do with, well, books. Let's get on with our show today. Hello, my happy people. Today is July 3rd, 2024, and we have got another great summer suggestion for you with today's author. If you have little kids who you would like to give them something to do that takes them away from video games and the television, how about someone who has an incredible collection of fantastic children's books? She has everything from seek and find, activity books, and storybooks. Her collection is incredible, and you are going to love her. So let's not waste any time. Please welcome to Book Banter with Dianne Burkhart, Andreea Rus. Can you please tell our listeners who you are and what you do?
My name is Andreea, and I write children books. I live in Montreal, Canada, with my husband and 5-year-old son, who, of course, has been the inspiration and the starting point of all this. I do have a full-time job as a software quality analyst, so nowhere in the area of writing. I started writing children books a year ago when my son turned 4, and he fell and bruised his knee. So everything started with that. It's kind of a fun story where he started to whine a lot about it. And I always give him examples from books we read at bedtime. And I said, there aren't any books about a bruised knee out there. Mm-hmm. And he asked, why not? I was like, well, I don't know why not. And then both my husband and my son said, you should write one. Like, me? I'm not a writer. And well, 3 days later, when I had a bit of spare time, this idea came to my head. How about if I write about the bruised knee and a micro world of bacteria that really want these bruises to happen and they can have party with them and so on and so on. And this is how I wrote my first book. I wrote it down and then I said, yes, I can turn this into a book. And then I had a lot of other ideas and said, oh my, there are so many things that I can write about. They are funny, they are silly, exactly like what my son wants. So it's when it all started a year ago. And since, whenever I have a little bit of time, I work on them. And here we are. I have at this moment 11 books. And with so many, many, many ideas, I still have 7 that I'm working on, which I hope to finish by the end of the year.
I like how varied they are because you have the semi-serious activity book. You have, I like these see or guess. Why don't you explain those?
Yes, see or guess, or just the first one is just see. I'm just trying to point out that, can you see it? Can you see it? Mm-hmm. So basically there are compilation of very colorful illustrations where I'm trying to trick the eye a little bit to make it harder to see an object. So some people might see it right away, or some kids might see it right away, some not. In order to help, I was thinking, how about I also include a rhyme to help you with identifying the object? So, for example, if the illustration is hiding a musical note, the rhyme would be, if I clear my throat, I may sing this, and you're supposed to find out the word that also helps you identify the object that it's hidden. That book I've done in 3 days.
Oh, wow.
I was so excited about it, and I started making these illustrations myself. I was so excited about it, like, this is, I really like this. And I made this book in 3 days. And then since I liked it so much, a few months later, I said, let me just do another one, maybe slightly different. And this is how I came up with see or guess. So I used the same idea of illustrations where I'm drawing maybe an animal or an object, but it's not as easy to find. But this time, instead of a rhyme, I'm just giving three words as clue. For example, I have these three words, which is stop, go, green, and the object you have to see, it's a traffic light. I did test these two books on my son, and he loved them. So I said, okay, that means that's a good idea.
I think they're fantastic ideas because it makes the children use their imagination. It's like, what is this thing in all of these colorful blocks? It really makes them stretch their imagination and their understanding of your clues. I mean, those are just such a great thing that you're putting together in these books.
Thank you. And when I gave this also to a little girl and I started reading the rhymes to her, she didn't even want to look at the image. She said, like, I just want to guess the rhyme. So it was okay. That's another way of doing it.
Well, what's so cool about these is it also made me think about my childhood where my dad used to play this game with my sister and I, where he would draw some just big squiggle and we would have to make a picture out of it. So this kind of made me think of that, where you're trying to find an image within all of these colorful blocks.
Right, right. I think it all comes from our childhood too, when we love to solve mysteries. This is like
Hmm.
a mystery, and I really wanted to make them colorful. So this way, it's like a pleasure to look at them, as we know kids do like colors.
And you have such great humor across your different books. Like this whole thing is funny. I love that. The sample pages that you sent me with the dog like reaching his paw through a hole and then making these little blue footprints as he walks on with his owner. It was just so adorable. I love these ideas that you have.
Thank you very much. Yes, it's a pleasure to come up with these ideas, honestly. I always think of like, would children find this funny? Would they laugh if they would look at this? So I'm really always looking for funny and silly because I know that that can be a success with kids.
If you hadn't become a mother, do you think you would have ever started writing children's books?
It's a possibility, but it's a possibility. Like I've worked as a copywriter for an advertising agency. So in my head, there are always ideas. I love the creative side of everything. And even before having my son, me and my husband, we went to visiting teddy bear factory in Vermont. So we were doing things that maybe just families with children do. So it's possible that at some point would be, oh, I have free time. What should I do with the free time? Or maybe I start writing children's books. But definitely having a child, it puts a different perspective into it, and it's a lot more fulfilling, and it even helps, of
Mhm.
course, to write all these books and to come up with so many ideas. And I love that I have my son to test all these on him, to
Yeah.
ask him, do you like it? Do you find it funny? What if this would happen? And yeah,
So he's definitely a great test market group in your house.
exactly.
Now, I really like this title, Mom, I Broke the School. How did you come up with that idea?
Um, I don't know. I really don't know. I took a lot from my son's character and I put in this book. So when the boy explains to his mom how would he like his school to be, of course, like every kid, he's exaggerating. He wants big slides and big desk, and everything has to be huge and big and many floors in the school so it can go very high up the building. And he was even thinking of, you know, how there is sand on the playground and he doesn't like that when it goes on the slide, and how about there are some vacuum cleaners there? And his mom says, no, we can't really put vacuums in there. Then huge fans, how about huge fans to blow away the sand? And they're having fun, the boy and the mom in the book, by drawing how his school should look like. And then the boy falls asleep at night, of course, and then he dreams about the school they created. And some are advantages, some are disadvantages. So he thinks in his dream that because he was reimagining his school, he broke it. Now it doesn't work. It's not good because the big desks don't work because you cannot hear the teacher from so far away. And the big lockers, they also don't work because you put your backpack in and it just falls like in a hole that never ends. So he realizes that, okay, huge things may be not that good idea. And he thinks that he broke the school. So I just found it like a really fun idea to do.
And I like the ones that you have so many animals in because you have like this whole thing is funny with the dog. Then you have this, that, which dog is your pet, and this or that, which is your cat, and sheep stuffed with sleep. I love that one because so many people equate sheep with sleeping because they're always telling you if you can't sleep, you should count sheep.
Yes, but actually, the idea came from, well, it was a different trigger here. When we wanted to visit our family who lives in Romania, my son's cousin had a stuffed sheep that also doubles as a pillow. And he really liked that. He was cuddling it. And when we returned, I bought him a similar one. And I was always joking, like, I think this pillow or sheep, it's stuffed with sleep because it makes you sleep.
Mhm.
So I was looking for either a laugh or a puzzled look. And this is how I came up with the idea. What if I write a book about a sheep that it's trying to help a girl fall asleep and goes and asks all the friends, what should I do? What should I do? And they all suggest, of course, chamomile tea, maybe a turkey sandwich. And the sheep doesn't realize that it's not for her, it's for the girl. And he eats and drinks all these things. So this is how sleep gets into the sheep. And then you just cuddle the sheep and you fall asleep.
I love that. That is, and the drawings are so adorable. Do you do all of the illustrations, or are some of them your illustrations and some you work with an artist?
No, I don't do the illustrations. I did the illustration just for the activity books that I have. Those I did myself. And the book titled Five Kinds, I worked with a line artist who just drew black and white. And then I decided to color it in different ways. So that I did myself.
Mhm.
But for the other books, I was working with different illustrators, trying to get on paper what I have in my mind. So for those, I did have to use an illustrator. I am actually also trying to illustrate myself. I bought a software and I'm trying to use it to illustrate my books in the future. But
Mhm.
since I don't have all that much free time, this is a slow process. So I hope to get there eventually because I really like this part too. I love illustrations.
I think you did a really good job choosing your illustrators because you have sort of a general cohesive appearance to all of them. There's like a little bit of variation to them, but not so much that it looks like it's a bunch of different artists working on it. Some people have a collection that you can tell almost every book was done by a different illustrator. And you have a good cohesive look. So whoever's been working with you, you've obviously done a great job collaborating.
Thank you. But at the same time, I am looking for different styles depending what the book is about. So
Hmm.
I'm looking to change a little bit the style in my upcoming books. And I hope to just bring a fresh look to every book so they don't won't all look really alike since
Hmm.
I'm trying to convey different. Some are more like bedtime stories, other are any time of day book.
Hmm.
So because of this, I am looking to have different styles across my books in time.
What is your most recent publication?
The most recent, it's called Two Animals, and this is about mixing two animals in a funny way.
Hmm.
What happens is kids at school are being given an assignment to work in pairs of two to draw an animal and its habitat. And you know how kids are, it's like, I want to draw this. No, but I want to draw this because I like this one better. And they can't really agree. But then they come with a clever idea of, what if we just draw both animals in one? And this is how animals like a giraffe has been born. So, like a giraffe that looks like a fox,
Hmm.
or a seacorn who is a unicorn but also a seahorse. And I really found that this would be a fun thing to do. So that's my latest book that I published.
I love how you really bring in imagination into a lot of this stuff to really get people to start using their own creativity to see what you're creating.
Interesting way of looking at that. Thank you.
Now, which one of these books is your son's favorite?
I have been asking him that, and I could not get a clear answer. I think he really loves the sea or gas because they're
Mhm.
so colorful, but he also likes the Twenimals one and maybe hiking to share because this is really what we do. We go, the three of us, we go hiking a lot. So this really speaks to us.
So, what is this book about?
This book is about a bear who lives up on a mountain in New Hampshire, where we usually go hiking. And the view is just breathtaking, especially in autumn where all the leaves change colors. And he doesn't have who to share that with. So the bear having a backpack, of course, from a scared hiker who just was in a rush to leave when he saw the bear. And there is a notebook in there, and he writes messages on those pieces of paper and just lets them fly in the wind. And the messages come and join me to see this beautiful view at the summit of the mountain. And these notes just land everywhere in the forest, and some animals read them and they decide to come. So, this is like a story of the animals who are going to hike all the way to the summit. In a way, it's a metaphor to how we manage a little bit difficult things. For example, the rabbit is always scared of noises of the forest, so he kind of loses track where the trail is. The ant is a workaholic. She keeps gathering everything that she finds that it's food. Oh, this would be good, and she's really late. She's keep gathering food, and she just doesn't get there already. So I find that it would be an interesting idea out of all the animals, only one to succeed to get there to the top and see the view. The others will get there eventually, but they do have to deal with their own uh, challenges that
Mhm.
keeps them from finishing this trail on time, let's say. And what I wanted to share about this book is I was reading it to my son at bedtime. And when I get to the part when I say, well, the rabbit kept hearing these noises that deterred him from the trail. And my son asked, what noises? And I'm saying, well, forest noises that seem scary. I don't know. And he says, how come you don't know? You wrote the book. Oh, so then I really had to have an answer. So, of course, I explained about the rustling of the leaves and the other animals that make noises, sometimes hikers that pass by. And those things were scary for the rabbit. So, I love that question. And since I wrote the book, I definitely need to have an answer.
It sounds like your son is very intelligent.
He is.
Whenever you come up with an idea, like the Tweenimals, how long does it take you from idea to finished product?
You know, it really depends on how fast I can turn the idea into a book. So I get the idea and then I'm thinking, right, this is just a fun idea, but can it actually become a book? Is there a story there? I take the time either weekends, late nights, or on my commute to think about it. And in the end, if I find that there is a story, I write it down. Sometimes it's just a normal story. Other times it's a rhyme. And I start working on it as soon as I have the time. Once that's done, of course, I'm drawing some sketches of what I want the illustrations to look like. Then I contact the illustrator if it's not me, and I hope to have it as soon as possible, just because I'm excited to see how the book turns out to be.
Mhm.
And it seems like, on average, it takes a month for me from the idea until the book is published.
So, how many books do you think you would like to get in your collection? Do you just want to keep going, or do you think this is going to be something that you're just doing at the moment?
I want to keep going. because it's such a different way of spending my time than I usually do. As I said, my day job, it's a software tester, basically. So I like the idea that I'm doing something different. So whenever I will have a good idea for a book, I would like to put it in practice. I do not have a target or any of that because this is not manufacturing. This is
Mhm.
creativity. And right now, I do have 7 other possible books. I would like to finish them by the end of the year. That would make a total of 18 books. I find that that's a lot.
Yeah.
Even for me, I find that it's a lot. But again, I keep saying that I do have ideas and I like to see them turn into a book. So I will continue doing this for as long as it makes sense and it gives me the satisfaction that it gives me.
Do you think that as your son grows older, your books will also progress? Will you move from picture books to chapter books?
It's something that I consider, yes. If the story makes sense and it's maybe respond to certain needs at that time. Many books maybe address a problem or maybe they make us happy in a certain way. If I can create that, yes, I may switch to that in time.
In your process, what has been the hardest thing for you to work out as a new author?
At first, when I started the research, I found that illustrations are expensive. If you consider what you're doing with the books, if there are sales, or if it's just a hobby. But of course, a lot of work goes into an illustration, and the illustrator, of course, should be compensated fairly for their creativity and time. I researched and I found that a lot of the illustrators were out of my budget. But then somehow I managed to find a few ones that I love to work with. And as I said, I'm also trying to draw myself. In the Two Animals book, actually, the illustrations with the animals, those are my illustrations. I did that. So that gave me a lot of confidence that I can actually be better at it and in time maybe become an illustrator myself. That I think that was the biggest challenge. And the fact that I am publishing my books on Amazon and there is limited options in paper quality and cover.
Hmm.
So I would like to see my books in hardcover maybe, but it is not offered for this amount of pages. So that's another thing that I find maybe I wish it would be different. But either way, I am really happy with how the books look at the moment and with my work so far. But just to answer your question, I think those would be things that I wish they were different a bit.
I definitely think you've gotten a good collection going already. You have like a nice variety between activity books and creative books with books that are more picture books with story. I mean, you've got so many different offerings in here. I think anybody with small children can find something that their kids are going to love.
Thank you for that. Yes. And I think I will also continue with the activity books as me, myself, I love logic and math and mystery a bit. So if I find that I have an idea that is different, I would like to put that in a book. For example, the semi-serious activity book, I was thinking of going a little bit different than a regular activity book. For example, you know that find the differences type of activity where you have similar images and you have to find differences. I just went totally the opposite direction. I said, no, I'm just going to give two different, very different images where you have to find the same 5 objects that are hidden in both pictures. So I like to put a twist on them. Mazes, for example, there would be not just like enter here and exit there. I draw mittens at each end of them, and you just have to draw the line to connect them.
Hmm.
Or I have the head of a snake and the tail of the snake, and then you just draw the middle part wherever the maze brings you, and you'll see how the snake ends up looking in the end. So I like to put some sense into it. So this is why it's called a semi-serious activity book.
I know when I was a kid, I loved things like that. I loved books that you had to find the objects in the picture and you had to do the find the differences in the same picture, all of those different kinds of things. I loved puzzles. And I think that is why I still love them so much. I love figuring out puzzles and quizzes and mazes, all of that stuff. And I think a lot of that does get instilled in you as a child. And so these kinds of books are just fantastic because it helps to build your creative thinking.
And now that I think about it, again, my son was an inspiration for this. When he does mazes, he's like, yeah, I can start from here and end up there, but I can also do it the other way around. I said,
Hmm.
of course you can. And this is why, let's say, an example of a maze in my book would be there's a watermelon at one end and there's a shopping cart at the other end. And then the activity says, can you bring the watermelon to the shopping cart? So you do the maze and then you can turn the page upside down, and I wrote there, well, you can also bring the shopping cart to the watermelon. I think it's easier.
Oh, I like that. Which books do you think you would recommend if somebody is going on a vacation this summer and they need things to keep them busy in the car? What are the three top books that you would recommend from your collection?
I would recommend my C book and the C or gas, because this can be a family fun. You can do it together. And how about the hiking to share one in case you are going hiking and you can find something from the book that you will see along the way on your hiking trail. I think this could be good books to keep you busy or to talk about on your trip.
I think those are great. And I would actually even also add in the sheep stuffed with sleep because sometimes if you're going camping or if you're in a different place that you don't normally sleep, sometimes it can be hard to get to sleep. So that might be a good aid as well.
You're right. And the girl in the book, she does have a tent in her room. So it can work out.
Now, this is the point of the show that we like to do 5 quick questions that never turn out to be quick, but we just refuse to give up. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Question 1. What is your favorite summertime activity?
That would be being at the ocean, I think. Just being at the ocean. If I have the chance, that's what I would like to do.
Yeah, that's always nice. We don't have that here where we live. It's a bit of a trek for that. So that's special.
It's not close to me either.
See, but I think that's what makes it so special whenever you have to actually make a point to go see that.
Yes.
Question 2. Whenever you get your family together, what is your favorite activity to do when the weather is nice outside?
Well, definitely that would be spending time outside, of course. Either we are at the splash pad if it's summer, or we are going spend time at the creek and in the forest. I think that would be hiking, being in the cool area of a forest if it's very hot outside, and definitely some water with rocks, a nice stream, a creek. That's where we like to be, the three of us.
That would be nice. Question 3. Whenever you want to just relax and pick up a book to read, what is your favorite genre?
Oh, I don't think I have a favorite one. I do not have a lot of time to read. That's a problem.
Hmm.
And whenever I have some time to read, especially in the past years, I was reading books about, let's say, parenting and how to do certain things as a parent. But
Hmm.
those are not fiction. Those are not necessarily to relax.
Yeah.
The last book I read was biography of Matthew McConaughey's Green Lights. Those I like. I like those too because I can maybe take something from their life experience.
My husband is very big on autobiographies. He's read Arnold Schwarzenegger's. He's right now reading Patrick Stewart's. And I've read Jackie Chan's. Sometimes those can be just really interesting reads.
Indeed, and maybe they can be inspiring, or maybe you think there are certain problems in life and they put a different light to them. And I like to see that. And I like that whatever happens, it's going to be okay in the end.
Yeah.
I honestly feel that with many autobiographies.
Question 4. If you were not writing, do you think there would be another creative endeavor that you would get into to just have a creative outlet?
It's possible that it would be illustration. As I said, I was working in advertising, which was a creative field, to come up with, let's say, slogans and logos. But everything that I think of creative, it all comes down to an image, it seems so. So this is why I would pick illustrations.
Mm-hmm. Question 5. Since you're part of our summer read suggestion authors, who do you suggest, other than your own books, that people pick up for their children for summer reads?
Right. I recently read to my son The Ranch by Elise Gravel. It's a Montreal author that I recently discovered. She has many books, and they're really, really funny in a simple way. And it also addresses, for example, The Ranch addresses consumerism. We as adults will understand it. Kids maybe not so much, but they will definitely have fun reading it. So that's again The Ranch by Elise Gravel.
I always love things like that there's like one message that the kids will get from it, but there's another message that the parents will get from it when they read it. I think those are so well done.
Exactly. And you know what I think is you can read this book maybe when you're 4, the parents read it to you and you get something from it. Oh, it's funny, haha. But then a few years later, you read the book again and it starts to click. It makes a different sense for you now. And then as an adult, you read the book, like, oh, I remember this book from when I was a kid. And now I get the message. It has so many levels, right? I love that too.
Yeah, those are always great. So now let's remind everybody who you are and what you do.
Sure. I am Andreea and I write children books. I have all my books published on Amazon. They are available in paperback and ebooks, all of them. And yeah, I think that's it.
Do you have a website?
I do not have a website currently. I am thinking of having one, actually, depending on how many books I publish and how they sell. I do intend to have a website eventually.
Thank you so much for joining me today. This has been fabulous, and I think all of your books are going to be amazing choices for kids to read over the summer vacation.
Well, thank you very much.
So there you have it, folks. Be sure to go to Amazon and check out all of Andrea's books. Her collection is fantastic and so varied. If you have little ones, you are going to find something that all of them will love. I promise you that. Now, coming up next week, we have cozy mystery author Darlene Dzomba and her book series, The Lily Dreyfus Mysteries. If you like dogs and mysteries, you are going to love her collection of cozy mysteries. Now, next month, we have got something special coming up. We're going to be having a whole collection of authors who have written memoirs or fiction books based on real events. It is going to be so much fun. You're going to love these authors. To start us off, we have Gerardo Blois. He is a forensic investigator who has not only worked on hundreds of cases, but several high-profile cases. And we're going to be talking about his book, CSI, the Casey Anthony Child Murder Case. You're going to really love this episode if you are into true crime. And he is not the only forensic investigator that we have in the lineup. We also have Sheila Lowe. Sheila is a forensic handwriting analyst, and she has written a memoir and numerous thrillers that are absolutely fantastic. We also have Jelani Lombardi coming up with her book, Running Around Naked, a memoir about growing up in a nudist camp in the 70s. And of course, we also have a fantastic cookbook author, Kosa Ahmad, and we talk about her book, The Karachi Kitchen, Classic and Contemporary Flavors of Pakistan. And she shares a recipe in our upcoming August-September issue of Book Banter magazine, and you will definitely want to check it out. These recipes are amazing, and I can't wait to cook some of them. And that is just a small sample of some of the fantastic authors that we have coming up in the next 2 months. Be sure to keep checking back every week for another amazing author, because honestly, if you love books like we do, you do not want to miss a single episode. So now you know what time it is, folks. It's time for you all to go forth and be happy.